Today, I'm going to reveal to you the best way to print t-shirts. Now, before we get started, there's a few things that I want to mention. For one, remember that I have a completely free to use t-shirt pricing calculator. This is, again, 100% free to you, and you can use it to start pricing your different jobs. This makes pricing your job super easy based on a percentage and how many shirts you're selling or how many products you're selling. Two, we're almost to 10,000 followers. Remember, at 10K, I'm doing a giveaway for a heat press and some transfers. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this video, like it, do what you got to do. Let's get to 10K so that way we can start giving away a heat press. All right, so now on to the main topic of the video. So what is the best way to print t-shirts? Well, I'm going to be completely straight up with you right now. I'm going to be 100% honest. There is no one best way to do anything. There are way too many things that factor into this. So you know what? I'm not going to give you the best way to print t-shirts. I'm going to give you the best ways to print t-shirts based on what these different methods are best suited for. So first up, let's start with screen printing. Screen printing is going to be best for big orders. So the thing with screen printing is there's a lot of work that goes into actually setting up a screen and getting everything done. Also, post-press, there's a lot of cleanup you have to do. You have to clean up the screen, you have to clean up the ink, the squeegee, all of that. So typically speaking, screen printing is not going to be used for 1 or 2 shirts. It's going to be used for larger runs, usually maybe 10 or 20 plus. Now, screen printing for large orders, if you're good at it, if you have your technique down and you know what you're doing, you can print full-on graphics. So screen printing is best used for big orders pretty much. And that's primarily what it's mostly used for. Now, I'm not a screen printer myself, so if you have anything to add to this, just go ahead and drop it down in the comments below. I would love to hear your input. Next, we have HTV or heat transfer vinyl. So heat transfer vinyl is best used or best suited for one-offs, single prints, single color prints, and is absolutely awesome for custom products. So when it comes to heat transfer vinyl, there's also a lot of work that goes into it. I almost fell and I just hit my funny bone. Ouch. So when it comes to heat transfer vinyl, there's a lot of work that has to be done in terms of cutting and weeding. This can take quite a bit of time, but it can also be very quick. It really all depends on the complexity and how much detail there is in your image. Now, when it comes to heat transfer vinyl, you're not going to be doing full color images. You're going to be limited to single colors or solid colors. So you can go ahead and layer different colors on top of each other, but you're not going to be printing out full color t-shirts or full color graphics. Now, like I mentioned before, the amount of work that you're going to put into working with heat transfer vinyl is going to depend on the complexity and the details or how much detail the image has. So all of these things factor into actually, let's say, choosing heat transfer vinyl for the job that you're going to do versus, I don't know, using a different type of printing method. So for me, heat transfer vinyl is going to be best suited for smaller orders. So anything maybe less than 10 orders. But again, that's going to depend on the complexity and how much detail there is in the design. Sometimes you might have a very simple pocket logo or a chest logo, or even a pretty big back logo that doesn't have a lot of detail that you can do with heat transfer vinyl. And it's not going to take a lot of work because there's not a lot of weeding that you need to do. But on the flip side, you could be doing maybe 5 different shirts where there's so much detail that just one of them is going to take you 30 or 40 minutes. Let me show you really quick one shirt that I did. And this was just 2 shirts that I did. 2 matching shirts with this number 1 and a bunch of details inside. I looked at them and I'm like, you know what? It looks like this has a lot of detail, but I could do it. It's not going to be that bad. But when I actually got to weeding all of that stuff, oh my God, that was the worst mistake I had ever done. I should have charged them a little bit more, or at the very least, order DTF transfers or something. Heat transfer vinyl was not the best way to go about it. For one, it did take quite a while to cut because, again, there was a lot of detail. And 2, it took me forever to weed those. About an hour and a half for 2 shirts. Might be exaggerating. Maybe it was about an hour for both shirts, but still way more than it should have been. So heat transfer vinyl, really, it's going to be best suited for actually a variety of different things. Again, it's all going to depend on your job and all of the details for your job. But besides that, single and solid colors, and my favorite, customizing shirts. So heat transfer vinyl makes it really easy to be able to customize shirts, like let's say for Etsy. So on Etsy, you could sell a birthday shirt with a custom name or a custom number, and it's easy to make just one of those. All right, next up, sublimation. Now, When it comes to sublimation, it's amazing for shirts because it produces some insanely vibrant colors. The colors that you get from sublimation, they really pop. And best of all, it's 100% permanent. If you're using a 100% polyester shirt, that ink, it's not going anywhere. Once you press that on there, it is not going to fade. It is not going to crack. It is going to be 100% permanent. And that's the awesome thing about sublimation. It has amazing colors. They really pop. You can put as much detail as you want and as much detail as you need, and the prints last. They last pretty much more than any way of printing out there. Now, with sublimation though, you need polyester. So if you don't have a polyester shirt, you're not going to be able to sublimate. Also, if you don't have a light colored shirt, you're not going to be able to sublimate. There are a few different hacks that you can use to sublimate on cotton t-shirts, but I don't like doing hacks that much because they don't last. They're not always the best quality, and they take extra work than, you know, what really needs to be done. But to each their own at that point. So for sublimation, the best things that you can use sublimation for are going to include custom shirts. So you can do custom shirts with these. It's really easy to print just one. Having something like a Sawgrass printer makes it super easy to print one page and just, you know, go ahead and heat press it on there. Now, with that being said, you are going to be limited to the white shirts, as I mentioned earlier. So it's not going to be best for, let's say, starting a brand or being able to offer multiple options, but it is one option that you can offer. And again, it has very, very good quality prints. Now, another thing that sublimation is going to be really good for that a lot of these other ways of printing are not going to be used for at all is going to be for printing on multiple products or multiple surfaces, multiple media types. With sublimation, you can print on cups. Sublimation, you can print on tumblers, you can print on cups. You can go ahead and print on any surface as long as it has that poly coating, I believe it's called. So another thing that sublimation is going to be really good for is simply going to be printing a variety of different products. And also with sublimation, you can print in bulk. It's pretty easy to do so because all you're doing is just simply printing and cutting out your images. All right, next we have heat transfers. So when it comes to heat transfers, really anything is a heat transfer. Heat transfer vinyl is a heat transfer because it's transferred with heat. Sublimation is a heat transfer because it's transferred with heat. But right now I'm going to talk about DTF and screen print transfers because these are the ones that are most commonly referred to as heat transfers. So screen print transfers. Hands down, the best application for this is going to be bulk orders. Now, not just bulk orders, but let's say you have a brand or you have a shirt or a design that sells a lot. Let's say you have an Etsy store that you have a very popular design in and you're constantly making sales for it. Well, this is the perfect scenario to buy screen print transfers. With screen print transfers, you can go ahead and store them and use them whenever you need. It literally takes seconds to press a shirt. Now, as far as bulk orders, same thing. Let's say you have 100 shirts you have to do. There is no way in hell that I'm going to be doing that with heat transfer vinyl. So I'm going to order screen print transfers. Now, one of the best things about screen print transfers is that they can range from 1 to 5 colors or full color. Now, I will say this, for screen print transfers, it's not going to be ideal if you have smaller runs. So let's say you have an order of 10 or 15 shirts. I would not recommend screen print transfers just because there is a setup fee. No matter what company you go with, there's going to be a setup fee for screen print transfers, which typically ranges between 25 to about 30 bucks. So that alone is going to throw off your profits. It's going to make your pricing really high. So it's not going to be good for smaller orders. But what you can do is use DTF transfers. So I actually use DTF transfers all the time for my smaller runs. Somebody just placed an order not too long ago for, I think it was 10 or 12 shirts with their company logo in the back. I didn't want to do it with vinyl because it's a lot of detail, and screen print transfers aren't an option because it's only about 10 of them. So the setup fee is just going to drive up costs insanely. So I went with DTF transfers. With DTF transfers, it doesn't matter if it's full or single colors. You can print whatever it is that you need on a gang sheet. Now, one thing that I didn't mention about screen print transfers is that the more that you order, the bigger price breaks that you're going to get. So you're going to pay a lot less per transfer as you start to order more. And you're also going to be feeling the setup fee a lot less as well. With DTF transfers, you don't have that. You don't have price breaks with DTF. Most of the times the gang sheets or the rolls, they're going to be running about 22 inches wide by your specified length. So maybe 12 and 22 inches, those two can probably have a different pricing, but anything after that, anything after 3 feet, you're pretty much going to be getting the exact same pricing structure for the entire thing. But with that being said, if you do have a small enough design, like let's say you're just printing a bunch of hats, let's say you're selling 100 hats, it might be a lot easier, or it might be a lot more worth it. You might be paying less by setting up a gang sheet, because you're not going to be filling up as much of the sheet with a smaller cap design than, let's say, an entire t-shirt graphic. All right, next up, white toner printing. So when it comes to white toner printers, they're essentially called, or they're referred to as, a business in a box. With a white toner printer, you have the option to print so many different things. It's kind of like sublimation, except without the limitations. You're not limited to just white or polyester. With white toner printing, you can print on pretty much any color or any fabric shirt. You can also print on multiple surfaces, and you even have a lot of unique options to be able to print as well, such as temporary tattoos, which I've done before and I absolutely love it. I think it's probably the coolest thing ever. You can print magnets and a bunch of other things. Now, not only that, with a white toner printer, you also have the option for specialty toners or specialty toner cartridges. With these types of cartridges, there's a few different ones, but the two main ones are going to be UV, which are the ones that glow under a black light, and also sublimation cartridges or sublimation toner cartridges. This in itself is actually very impressive because it completely eliminates the need to having to purchase a sublimation printer. While the white toner printer might have a higher price tag than a sublimation printer, it can do so much more, and it can even do the sublimation. I just found this out not too long ago and my mind was absolutely blown. But besides that, when it comes to t-shirts, this is where you're going to have a lot of different options to choose from. So there are a lot of different papers that you can go with. There's going to be different specialty papers. Some are going to be better than others. But overall, when it comes to t-shirts, the white toner printer, it works pretty well. If you have your technique down right, you can print t-shirts that are going to last quite a bit. But with that being said, there is a bit of a learning curve because you do need to learn how to set up your transfers, which if you want to learn all about that, you can check out this video right here. In it, I explain everything that you need to know about the white toner printer. But overall, for t-shirts, it is going to be best for smaller runs. While you can do larger runs, I personally wouldn't be doing it. I would prefer to go with screen print transfers, simply because the time that you're going to take actually producing those transfers is going to take quite a bit. And you're not going to have price breaks like you would with screen print transfers. So my suggestion for white toner printing and t-shirts, it would be for smaller runs, but you can also do customs. So you're going to be able to customize the entire thing, and you're going to have the option to print full color. Now, if you've been thinking of getting a white toner printer, I personally use the Uninet iColor 560 because it has so many more features than some of the other ones out there. It has a few features that other white toner printers are lacking. So my preferred printer is the Uninet iColor 560. And if you're interested in it, if you want to check one out, then you can go ahead and check out the Uninet website, where you can use code NECOPRINTS5OFF and receive 5% off your entire order. The link to that will be in the description below. Quick note, it is an affiliate link. If you click on it and make a purchase, I will make a small commission. All right, next up, we have DTF printers. Now, DTF has been a revolution. Everyone wants a DTF printer. With DTF printers, you're going to have smaller printers and you're going to have huge commercial printers. Now, with DTF printing, like actually printing the transfers yourself, I'm not a huge fan of it. The reason for this is because it produces a lot of fumes. There's a lot of things that go into it. There's powders, things that you're going to be inhaling, and I don't like that. I personally have asthma, and that it triggers it. Not just that, I also have kids in the house, so I don't want these fumes getting into the house and the kids smelling it, my wife smelling it. I don't want to deal with that. This is a fairly new way of printing, so there's not a lot of data on it. Nobody really knows how much harm you're doing to yourself if you're inhaling those fumes directly. So if you're printing DTF, you do need to know, or you need to keep in mind, that you're going to have some way to ventilate the fumes. Now, with that being said, there are some people that do it with everything closed and they'll inhale it and they don't care. But I do not suggest that. I suggest having some sort of ventilation system that can get out all of the fumes, all of the smoke, and even pick up some of that adhesive powder that just starts to get everywhere. But with that being said, if you want to do DTF printing, then there's a few things that this is actually very good for. For one, depending on the type of printer that you have, it's going to be good for either smaller run t-shirts or larger runs. But not just that, you're also going to have the option to sell these transfers. And this is where you can really start making some extra money. Because if you know people that print t-shirts, you can start selling them transfers. You can start selling them custom transfers. Or you can open up your own website, go on Etsy, and offer your own transfers there as well. You can make your own designs and sell them as transfers. Also, if you've been wanting a DTF printer, you can check out the Uninet website on there. You can use the same code. It all works. All right. Last but not least, we have DTG. DTG printing is pretty revolutionary. I'm not going to lie to you. I think DTG printing is really cool because it gives you the option to print unlimited colors, or you can be completely creative and free with your designs with DTG printing for your t-shirts, because it's a literal t-shirt printer. With transfers, with pretty much any transfer, you're not able to do things like, let's say, smoke or semi-transparent areas. It doesn't work. The only thing that you can do this with is sublimation, but you're limited to white. But with DTG printing, you can do anything that you want. With DTG printing, you have the option to do gradients, you can do smoke, you can do fading. It's really cool, the options that you have. But with that being said, DTG printing is not for everyone. And I learned this the hard way. If you want to hear my story on how I lost $17,000, just check out this video right here. In it, I explain everything on my experience with my Ricoh RI1000 DTG printer. So DTG really is going to be great for larger companies, simply because a lot of these machines, they need to be ran daily. They need to be ran consistently. So you need to have the business for this. So while it's not necessarily for larger companies, but people that have the business for it, you need to be getting the order flow for this. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it. My DTG printer, it cycled ink every single day and it threw it away. It literally threw it away. So if I wasn't printing, I was literally losing money. DTG printing is a pretty big investment. It's probably the biggest investment out of all of the different methods that I mentioned. So when it comes to DTG printing, you really need to do your research. You really need to look into everything that goes into it and make sure that it's right for you. Because besides being a very expensive investment, it's also a really big machine. It was so hard for me to get it out of the house when I finally sold it. So just so you know, DTG printing is not for hobby printing. It's for legitimate business use. You need to have the order flow for this. If you have a few shirts a week, don't do it. So that's the best way, or the best ways that you can print t-shirts based on the actual printing methods and what they're best suited for. What did you think of today's video? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know what your favorite way of printing t-shirts is as well. Also, if there's anything that you want to input, if there's anything that you want to let me know on any of the different printing types that I talked about, drop it down in the comments. Please make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that little bell notification if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Remember to check out the free t-shirt profit calculator. It's there for you to help you price all of your shirts. Let's get to 10K so that way we can start giving away that heat press. All right, my name is Mario with Prince. Catch y'all next time. Peace.